Alright, so we have been doing um, a lot of coding related to procedures, but we have been actually dealing with a certain type of procedure called the event procedure. And besides this type, there's also another type of procedure called the independent sub procedures. And I mean, both of these are sub procedures, and it's just two different types. So the event procedure is what we've been doing. We are basically writing a set of instructions or a procedure for a certain event happening, like a click of a button or changing of a text box, typing in something in a text box, or maybe selecting something in a list box, something like that. So these are procedures that are associated with a specific object and an event happening with that object, and they're automatically called when the event happens. Now, the other type of sub procedure, and by sub we generally mean subroutine. So that's the full form of this sub thing. So independent sub procedures are basically a collection of code or a connection of tasks or instructions that are actually called upon, uh, or which we can call upon from one or more places in our program or in our application, and they have nothing to do with any object or any event. It's just whenever the program runs into an independent sub procedure, then basically, I mean, it goes back to the procedure itself and runs it. And so, I mean, we have to first define the procedures, what are our instructions, what we want to do, and then we use a call statement. Um, and there's uh, generally a name after this call statement, and that's the name of the procedure. So when you call that name, you're basically calling the whole event procedures. You're calling all the instructions inside the procedure. So when the program encounters a call statement, it goes back to the subroutine procedure and runs all the lines of code or collection code that are associated with it. So um, structurally, they don't have any difference with event procedure. They just get called whenever they encounter or whenever the program sees a call statement. Now, however, their one of their most important advantages is that they reduce the total lines of code in your program by a drastic amount, especially if you're like repeating, uh, especially if you had a lot of repeating lines of code. So let's say you wanted to calculate averages of of a bunch of numbers all the time in your program, like average of your monthly salary, or no, I mean monthly salary is generally constant. Let's say average of the daily temperature, or maybe average of how many miles you ran every day. So I mean, it might vary from day to day, and you might have to keep calling in and calling it. But and the functions or the codes for that might be spanning two three lines. It's not, maybe it's not that simple. So instead of writing or copy pasting it every time you want to run it, you can define all those events in just one procedure and just use call with that procedure name instead of writing all those lines of code. So basically it eliminates duplication of code. And so like if you have a big program with 1,000 different tasks, then you can like define procedure statements for like in your program you want to have like different types of functionalities available, and for each functionality you can define a sub procedure and then just call it, like let's say functionality to provide the what is the max out of all these numbers, or functionality to clear everything. So instead of writing clear this and that every time, you can just use that use a call statement to clear everything. So it allows the application to be broken into small and manageable tasks, where each call statements basically um, reflects a lot of uh, a certain functionality or a certain thing to be done, and it allows teamwork in programming. So, one member of the group might be assigned to define this independent subprocedure. So, a function which can do a certain task, and the other team member might be assigned to another different procedure, so that they can each define their own procedure, and then there might be like a master programmer who takes all these sub procedures and builds the ultimate program. Pretty cool stuff. Here is example of the sub procedures, the independent sub procedure. So this is an application where the user inputs the number of hours worked and the rate of pay. The program gives you what's your regular pay, what is your overtime pay, and what's your gross pay. Now, the thing which we want to focus on here is the sub procedure part, not the actual calculate button or how to calculate all these stuff, or not about like combo boxes and all that. We want to focus on the private sub clear levels procedure. So I mean, event procedure, again, there's a difference between the private sub clear levels procedures and the clear button click. So you have this private sub clear levels like that. No uh, no bunch of arguments such as sender as object or as event args or anything like that. So you have just private sub, then the name of your sub procedures, and then you can have parentheses like you have parentheses where you can input a certain parameters, a certain number of parameters, or you can just leave them be. And after the private sub, then the name of the procedure, and then the double parentheses, you input your codes, your collection of code. Here it's just clearing all the different labels, like the regular label, the string label, the overtime label, etc. So once you clear it, once you write this, and then you can actually call it in other subroutines, in other procedures, so that the program goes back to this and executes all this and comes back to the original um, procedure. So I mean, after private sub clear levels, you have all those private subs, main form load, exit button, and calculate button, which we are not focusing on right now. There's code in there, but it's not important to us right now. Then you have clear button click, or hours combo text change, or rate combo text change. And these are event procedures. So whenever the clear button is clicked or the text is changed, then you call clear labels. So here you're calling the independent sub procedures called clear level, and each time you call it, all those levels get empty, or the string inside them get empty. So you can see, instead of writing those 3 lines of code each time for each of these event procedures, you can just have call clear labels, and it makes the program look much more compact. So this is this, I guess, highlights the advantage of using uh, these kind of procedures, sub procedures, when you can have a lot of repeating code in your program.